You know, if Greg did analyze my entire prep over the last 15 weeks and not just the past 2 weeks of videos and not just the past 2 weeks of diet.
So he's right. I didn't look at what his diet was like, only looked into the last 2 weeks. Didn't know how it was at the start. But listen, if it was actually... Coach Greg, and today I'm responding to Brandon's newest video called Greg Doucette, You're Too Lean, My Reaction. I've watched the video, I'm going to watch it again, I'm going to comment on certain aspects that I want to clarify. Going to use this video to educate you on how to diet in the real world. Some of the things he said is a little off. I just want to clarify and explain, give myself a chance so that everyone can understand what's happening.
You do typically take out leg days 10 days before a show or a week to allow all the water in the legs, all the water retention to drain away, which is basically just decreasing the inflammation.
And the first thing I want to touch on is he says you should be cutting out your leg days 10 days out from a show because squatting and whatnot, it can cause inflammation. What do I think of that? No, of course not. Do you know why people are cutting out legs 10 days before a show? Because they're pussies. They don't want to train that hard. It's hard. Leg days are hard. Training legs within 10 days of a show is not going to hide your muscle definition. It is not. So next time someone says, hey, it's a week out, 10 days out, don't train legs, say to your coach, but if I don't train legs, won't they get smaller? Shouldn't I still be training them? What I did to build them, shouldn't I continue to do to keep them? If you cut out training legs 10 days before a show, guess what? You got a show the next week. If you have 3 shows in a row, are we cutting out legs 10 days before the first show and then not training for 3 weeks? Does that make sense? And no, doing a bunch of cardio does not hide your leg definition either. The day before it could, 2 days before, if you're going hard, sure. You think going for a walk, doing 5 or 10,000 steps is going to cause your legs to hold all kinds of water and you can't show the condition? I typically look just as lean a day or two later after training legs as if I don't. So that is a myth. Wanted to point that out. You don't need to stop training your legs a week before a show.
We are trying to get ready a little bit early to take out the guesswork and just to make it a more pleasant experience. So there are going to be hard days.
So dieting to be early doesn't actually make sense. If you're contest ready 2 or 3 weeks early, that's 2 or 3 more weeks that you have to maintain a completely shredded physique, which is impossible to build muscle on. You're not going to build muscle when you're 4 or 5% body fat when you're eating 1,800 calories. It's not going to work. So why not do this? Get ready on time. Why be ready ahead of time 2 to 3 weeks? Why can't you just be on point? Why can't you just be properly prepared? You don't have to be overly prepared and be ready 3 weeks early. You can actually diet and be appropriate. Your coach can look at you 5 weeks out and say, you look 2 weeks out. We need to give you more calories because you're ahead of schedule. It's great, you're ahead, that's good. But we're going to give you more calories now because I don't want you to be shredded, show ready 2 or 3 weeks early. And obviously, it's not good to be behind schedule. If you're 3 weeks out from the show and you look 6 weeks out, that's bad. That shouldn't happen. The coach should be dieting you so that you look appropriate for how many weeks out you are. You're 6 weeks out, you look 6 weeks out. 4 weeks out, you look 4 weeks out. It's not better to be ready earlier. It's called peaking early. You don't want to peak too soon. Can happen in bodybuilding, can happen in powerlifting. You want to peak for the show. You don't want to peak 3 weeks early. So eat the appropriate amount of calories and maintain the appropriate amount of body fat for how many weeks out from the show that you actually are.
To not have to stress close to show, because that, like I said, is the worst thing. When stress is high in the body, you can hold a considerable amount of water retention as well, which is going to make your physique look like a bag of shit. As Greg would say, a bag of milk.
People overestimate just how much stress will do to the body in terms of water retention. You can't just be stressed and hold a bunch of water. It's called peak week. Diuretics, water manipulation. If you're stressed, you're not going to look like a bag of milk. It doesn't work like that. Looking like a bag of milk at a show comes from not dieting to the point of being lean enough, not properly doing your peak week, and over-carbing leading into the show. You eat too many carbs and you already have too much body fat and you don't manipulate water appropriately, That's when you look like a bag of milk. He's already under 6% body fat, approaching 5%.
I have to strongly disagree with that. I'm nowhere near like 5% body fat. I definitely am still around like 8 to 7%.
And it is possible that he's not between 5 and 6%, as I stated. I'm going by the thumbnails. If they've been photoshopped or filtered in such a way to make him look leaner than he actually is, then that's a possibility. If he's 7 to 8%, then it makes sense that he's still dieting. Not on 1800, that's obviously too low, but it is possible that he's between 7 and 8%. I'm just going by the pictures that I saw. He's sitting on the gym floor, striations everywhere. All I saw was shredded. Maybe he's not shredded. Maybe the filters, photo angles, and so on making him look leaner than he actually is.
My calories have actually been dropped even more since that. Calories on a non-training day are now on 1800 and my regular day calories are on 2400.
And it's gotten worse. He was eating 2000 on days off, 2400 on gym days, now 1800 on days off, 2400 on gym days. And he says, yeah, in the past, I've messed up and had to eat 1,200 calories for 3 days. How can that possibly make sense? Does anyone out there think that Brandon should be eating 1,200 calories a day at any point on any day in his life? Even on peak week, that doesn't make sense. The smaller the deficit, the more muscle you're going to keep. You start cutting calories too far, even with PDs, you're not going to build muscle. Yeah, I get it. You're on the trend bologna sandwiches, helps you build muscle. But it's like hiring a construction crew to build your house. You don't have any nails, you don't have the wood, and you don't have the hammers. They're all there ready to work, but you don't have the nutrients needed to build the freaking muscles. So Brandon, you need to eat more. It doesn't have to be 4,000 calories a day, but you need to eat more than 1,800 and 2,400. Look at my Instagram post the other day, 3,250 calories. 2 weeks out, I was close to 5% body fat. 3,250 calories. I'm smaller than you. How is that possible? Well, it's because I didn't bulk up in the off season. I wasn't at 18%. That's not needed. Why not stay 12 to 15%, build the muscle from there, and then when you diet, you won't need to go in such a great calorie deficit. Your argument is that if you eat more and bulk up, you'll gain a bit more muscle because you're eating more. Debatable, maybe a little bit more, but guess what? When you're now eating 1,800 calories, all that extra muscle you built, you're losing it. Versus had you eaten lower calories in the off season, but still enough to have energy, probably build just as much muscle. I don't really think that 18% body fat allows you to build more muscle than 15. I don't think that's true. And also, did you know that when you're at a higher body fat percentage, the anabolics, the PDs that you're using, they don't actually work as good? When you're obese, the hormones you're injecting don't actually work as good as when you're leaner. So you don't want to be fat. You don't want to be shredded either. You want to be somewhere in the middle. A healthy weight.
You don't really have to do these drastic things, but in the simplest terms possible, I don't want to maintain a lean body mass all year round because I love food.
Doesn't it make more sense if you love food to have food year round? Not, I want to eat like crazy all the time and then I want to starve myself. Not, I'm going to eat like crazy and then starve myself. Eat like crazy, starve myself. Why not be in the middle? If you love food so much, don't you want food to be part of your diet all the time? Rather than doing 1,200 calorie bikini diets? Doing 1,800, 2,400? Doesn't it make more sense that in your off season you'd eat 3,500, which is a lot of food? Eat 3,500 instead of 4,500. It's quite a bit of food. And no, you don't have to starve yourself. 3,500 calories. You can still eat wings. You can still eat whatever you want. I don't have a diet plan where you can't eat what you want. Every single diet plan that I have has cheat or treat meals. Every single one, every single day you can do it. And as snacks, optional snacks, whenever you want, you can eat this chocolate bar every freaking day. So Brandon's using Coach Greg makes people to eat too lean in off season and it's so hard and I like food too much. You're so wrong. My diets are nothing like that. You can eat off plan. It doesn't have to be every single meal from the cookbook. You can eat the junk that you want. You just eat to eat at maintenance. You maintain. Rather than getting the 18%, you maintain 12 to 15%. Then when you go on a diet, you're eating more food, Think of it, Brandon. Wouldn't you like to be on a diet right now where you're eating 3,000 calories a day on a diet? How is that bad? And not only that, you look better year round. None of the yo-yo dieting. And the PDs, they work better. And then when you're cutting for the show, you're actually able to build more muscle. You don't need to resort to 1,800 calories, losing 5 pounds in 5 days. And then you lose 5 pounds in 5 days, and guess what? You're on refeed days. Why? Because you starved yourself. And you're up at 4:20 in the morning doing cardio on an empty stomach, worrying about the 10 calories in a Monster drink versus the 0 calories in a Bang drink. Does that not sound like you're worrying a little bit too much about calories for someone that likes to eat so much? You're worried about 10 calories.
And other times I'd like to sit in with my family, watch a movie and eat a Chinese and not have to track it because, tracking your food every single day isn't necessarily an enjoyable thing to do.
The only time I track my food is when I'm doing a video to show you what I'm eating. I don't track food. You think I sit there with a calculator, macros, carbs, protein, fat? I don't even count it. I eat. I'm always full, satisfied, because I'm eating delicious foods that keep me full. From the cookbook. You don't have to track every single day. At the end of the week, if you're up in body fat and it's too much, you say, I ate a bit too much. I ate a bit less this week. If you're losing weight, you say, wow, I got extra lean this week. I probably shouldn't do that. I'm going to eat a little bit more. It's that simple. It doesn't involve meticulously calculating macros all year, 365 days a year. Brandon, in fact, calculates his calories more than me. Brandon's off season. I watched the video. He's bulking up 4,500 calories. He's showing you exactly what he's eating. He's tracking his calories more than Coach Greg year round. Coach Greg, I just eat.
The off season should be structured and you shouldn't just, eat whatever you want mindlessly. But if you are someone like me that likes to have like a Chinese on the night time.
It's so weird that Brandon thinks that I don't just eat normal food. I go to restaurants. I eat out. I have fun. I'm not on chicken, broccoli, and rice. I eat what I want to eat.
Those things, aren't going to fit into your healthy calculated macros for the day.
Does anyone out there actually think that Coach Greg tracks macros? I've literally done videos saying macros don't matter. Does that look like something I would do? Track macros? So he got it 100% wrong. Coach Greg is not a fan of you have to eat this way and it's the only way or the highway. Every single person that has my coaching plans knows this. All of them.
I like a takeaway and I like to just not open my FitnessPal and track everything that I do.
I've never used FitnessPal. Never used it. Never used it.
Total duration of this prep is going to be 18 weeks before the first show. Fastest prep I've ever done was 11 weeks and that was a lot more drastic than this.
I mean, he's doing the argument for me. 16 weeks and yet he's still at 1,800 calories. If he hadn't been at 18% and started his diet at 15%, that's 3% he wouldn't have to lose. It's probably 5 or 6 weeks less dieting he would need to do. Think of the difference that can make. Or he could do the same 16-week diet, but instead of cutting his calories to 1,800, it'd be 2,500 to 3,000. That is the difference that being a little bit leaner in the off season can do.
If Greg did analyze my entire prep over the last 15 weeks and not just the past 2 weeks of videos and not just the past 2 weeks of diet, I feel like he'd be a lot more educated from the standpoint of like the way we've actually done this prep.
So he's right. I didn't look at what his diet was like, only looked into the last 2 weeks, didn't know how it was at the start. But listen, if he was actually growing into the show and eating more calories at the start, why is he now having to cut calories so restrictively? Why did he go from eating 3,000 plus calories at the start of his diet to eating 1,800 now? There's something that went wrong. If you're at 3,000 then and now you're at 1,800, something went wrong. Were you behind schedule and now you're playing catch up and you're having to diet extra hard? What happened? I don't understand. If you're eating 4,500 calories a day and you started the diet at 3,700, there's no way in hell you should be at 1,800 on any day. It makes no sense. I'm not saying your coach is bad. I'm just saying it makes no sense to eat 3,700 at the start of a diet and then go to 1,800. How is it possible he needs that great of a deficit to cause weight loss? So yeah, you're on a 16-week diet, but were you losing weight at the start? And if you were, Why can't you keep losing weight at a higher calorie level?
If you can promise me that your anabolic cookbook will help me gain 29 pounds of lean muscle tissue, I will buy 10 of them.
And no, I don't expect you to be able to put on 29 pounds from eating from the cookbook. If it does, I could sell it for a heck of a lot more than $150. Even with PDs, 29 pounds of muscle is a lot. But I do believe that if Brandon's cutting his calories too low, 1,800 to 2,400, and it's already 19 days from the first show, and he has to diet for 6 weeks. He's not just doing one show. The first show is just like a qualifier. You just show up. You don't need to be shredded. You need to show up and peak for the show that you need to peak for. When you're trying to get your pro card, that is the show to peak for. You peak for the first show, you're going to lose muscle as you keep dieting. I'm telling you, you can't be shredded for weeks on end without having detrimental effects. So the best way is in the off season to hold a reasonable amount of body fat, not 18%, 15% max. And then when you diet down and peak for the show you need to peak for. He's not going to get to 230 pounds shredded, starving himself.
On the topic of Chris, do you think Chris won the Olympia and got in the condition that he did by not starving himself?
No, Chris definitely suffered to get that lean. However, was Chris 18% in the off season? Chris is not bulking to that extent. I would argue maybe he's up to 12%, maybe 15% at his worst. I don't see Chris as being the kind of guy to get to 18%. So when he does diet, he doesn't need to go to such extremes. So hopefully this clears up some of the questions and gives you the explanations that you need. Wishing Brandon the best. Hopefully he gets ready for the show, doesn't lose muscle, can get his pro card. Only time will tell. I'm sure Callum has his best interests at heart. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette IB Pro. Bloops are over there. Buy the freaking cookbook, training book. Buy the coaching plans. Subscribe, click the bell button. Follow me in the Gram and the Talk. And until next time, I'm out.